Today I am gonna record a, a tutorial how to for creating a platformer game. So we need some assets. I have made some assets. So on my upside down platformer, okay? So let's remix this. Link in the description below. So, I got my player here. So, with the big costume used for going off levels, our hitbox, and our moving player, and our eyes. So, what we're gonna do here, first off, let's start the game with the one green flag clicked. We're gonna broadcast a message called start. There we go. The broadcast starts, and when we start, we need a forever loop, of course. Then we're gonna, so here we need two new variables. Get rid of that stupid my variable. So speed x for the sprite only, speed y for the sprite only. So here we need to check if we're pressing some of the arrow keys. So if right arrow key pressed, then we need to move right. So change speed x by 1, duplicate that, and if left arrow key pressed, change speed x by -1. Now we're going to duplicate that concept. Here we go. Up arrow, down arrow, and switch the speed axis for speed y's. There we go. Then we're gonna have to change x and y by speed x and speed y at the end. Now we can give this a quick tester. So it starts off. Whoa, slippery. I can't seem to find my player. Let's see. X, Y. Oh, my Y position. Little task. Let's switch to the player idle when we start. I've noticed that. And I can't find my player. So we also have to reset the game when we start. So when I receive start, we need to reset our player. Go to, let's say, -150. We'll change that layer. Then we need to reset our speed axis and speed y's. Better. So, and I have kind of a problem with it being under the level. So when go to the green flag clicked, go to front layer. There we go. So, then you will notice that the player isn't slowing down. So we need to set speed x to. Now we need to have a multiply block here. Speed x itself times 0.9. And let's do the same for speed y. So duplicate speed y times 0.9. So, woo. maybe that after. There we go. Now the movement is smoother, you can see. So, we need to implement gravity next. You can still go over the level. So, we're gonna have to change the speed Y. What before, preferably, by -1. There we go. Whee! And I notice I cannot, I can't, like, I can't go up anymore. It's because usually in platformers, when up key arrow pressed, we set the speed Y, so we can throw it that way if you don't have the ounce. Set speed Y, let's say 12, and then down arrow, we'll implement that later. So up arrow, there we go. Jump, jump. But this is more like a rocket pack game here. You see? You'll keep holding it. You'll be flying off into space. So, we have to check if we're touching ground. So I would use an and normally, but if touching levels, we're only able to jump when we're touching the level, which makes me think the jump is a little small. So it can set that to, let's say, 15. Maybe still a little small. 16. So, we can still, like, float through the level there. So, this will be easier in a custom block named move X and Y. Then X and Y, the matching inputs. Run without screen refresh. So we can put these blocks in here. We don't need to set speed Y anymore because our gravity kind of interferes with that. But you can see this doesn't have a cap. So, and if we could also set the speed Y here, speed X, I mean. We are gonna check if speed Y is less than, let's say, -11 here. Set speed Y to -11. So that makes the least amount -11 here. I might change this in the future. So in the defined, we're gonna drop the speed X and speed Y inputs over here. Move the X and Y. So then we're gonna also attach an if. So if we touch the level, we need to move out. So we need to move the negative direction of that. How we do that? We need to have two 0 minuses alongside each other. 0 minus X and 0 minus Y. There we go. let's move. So I see we're stuck in the level here, so let's change the, go to X here, 150. That work? Ah. One thing I know to note here is that we are off the ground. That is because, if you think about it, our speed Y is falling like -11 pixels at a time. So it moves -11 pixels. So it moves into the ground, then it goes up by 11 pixels, which leaves this gap here. And we want to change that. So we need to replace the if with a repeat until. And we want to repeat until we're not touching the level. But then we need in maths. So maths for like if x equals 1 equals 10, it would go to 1, and if it's -10, it would go to 1. And I have the maths for that. So abs of the x divided by x itself. So there, copy it into the y, replacing the x's with y's, of course. There we go. Oh, oops. I forgot to negate that value. So it would move into the ground, and it would get really laggy because this is a run without screen refresh. Then, let's see. Oh, perfect. See a 1 pixel gap here? That's okay. The speed X. Very confused. Wonder how the speed X got this way. Ah. The speed X is going backwards, I suppose. So, aha, I get it. So, we are moving this way. We're doing both movements at the same time. So that means it goes into the ground and it tries to move diagonally and it gets into the ground like that. So we need to separate this into 2 parts. So let's say we do the XY speed. So it moves up and down here and gets out, and then we move left and right here, which cleverly works. So, one thing you can note is that you can't jump anymore. So, if up arrow key press, so we need a new variable to keep track if it's solid or not. Actually, maybe we can just move down. So change speed Y, change Y by -1, then change Y by 1 again, then we can jump. So -1, it goes down into the level, then it goes, and there we go. That seems to be working all right. So, you see here that you see here that I'm bonking my head, but it doesn't reset. So maybe the variable solid would have been a good idea anyway. So let's make a new variable named solid for the sprite only. So if first in our jumping scripts, if solid here is greater than 0, then we can jump. And here's the thing, we have to move it down under the speed y check. So then if we're touching, so also we're going to set solid to 0 at the start of the script. Then if we're touching the level, we're going to set solid to 1. So you can see the effect this has on jumping, or maybe you can't see the effect this has on jumping. One thing I've noticed is that when you fall off the edge, it's a little tricky here. I can tell why. So it's the same reason. So if we repeat until not touching the levels, so we could move this up here and then that inside. So if solid is greater than 0, we need to set the speed y to 0 before the jumping scripts. So we can see that we can see that when we jump onto this platform, we fall more smoothly. I might adjust this to like -21 or something. Always experiment with values. Yes. So one thing I'm against using this system is that if you move it in, let's say like it keeps teleporting up, that's because we're going down before. Maybe we move that to the end of the script. Still does that. Well, happens. And first, you notice here, it's having a hard time struggling out here. Like, if you force it, you have a hard time getting out. Well, that's for the same reason of the Y scripts. Just need to duplicate this. Take out this if up K pressed. And set the speed X to 0. You can also put this back up here. Experimental. This means we're no longer doing that. So one thing you can notice here is that when the player snags on top here, he just snags. Like, isn't that a problem? Well, that's a problem because it just snags. Like, so we have to switch costume to big to move off screen. And we can switch costume too. And for animation purposes, I'm gonna make a new variable named costume. There we go. For this sprite only. Costume. And we're gonna set this to 3. So switch costume to 3. Sorry. Let's set costume to 3. But we might as well put it at the end of the script because I have another thing. We want to switch to hitbox before checking if we're going out. So if you've had troubles with your corners, you're not going to have that anymore. One other thing, the final of this video, I noticed, is that this guy can hang on to the roof. You may want this, like in the game Apple, but I don't. So, we need another if inside here. If, and for here, we want to set the speed y to 0, but we have to do it in a mannerable way. So, we'll leave it off for now. So, if speed y here is less than 0, we can. So, if we're moving down. So, we need to make this if up arrow into an if else. On me for that. So, there. Well, we might as well do an and for this because we won't need 2 if else's. There we go. And here we go. Bye. This was fun. Having the first video. We can save now. We can also change this to episode 1. There we go. And also, we can hide all these variables. And it's ready for sharing. Bye.